This show is brought to you by Whatever You Say Productions, starting conversations since 2018.
A 1, a 2, a 1, 2, 3, and popcorn! Oh no!
Oh my gosh.
For people who are tuning in for the first time, I feel sort of bad, but then again, I don't really feel that bad. Hello, everyone. Welcome to At the Newsstand. We used to be known as Dixon Politics, and we love that name, and we're not fully getting rid of it, but we did outgrow it because we decided to cover more things. Let's do introductions very quickly. Adriana, I will start with you.
Hi, I'm Adriana. I am the COO at Whatever You Say Productions, and that just means I do a lot, and I lose a lot of sleep.
Indeed. Adriana does everything. She edits our episodes. She does the website. She does the SEO. She literally does everything. And she co-hosts this show with me. Adriana was the one that really started this journey with me. So we're the OGs. If it weren't for us, no one else would exist. And of course, you heard him singing in the beginning. No, that was not a her. It was a him. We have Mr. Corbin Williams with us, working actor, dancer, and model. Corbin, how are you?
I am so good up in here in the rural part. No, I'm just kidding. It's so great. As you guys know, I'm in Connecticut. I am a co-host of the formerly known Dixon Politics, now refurbished as the Newsstand.
Girl, yes. And Corbin, I think I'm so glad that this worked out the way it did, because for those of you who don't know, Corbin and I met about 2 years ago in an elevator, and we've been best friends ever since. And when we started this podcast, Corbin was like, ooh, oh, and I at first was like, no, it's girls only. And then I'm like, who am I kidding? We need to get this guy in here. So Corbin, thank you very much for joining us. And then it's not just a hen house. This is not a cat party. We do have other men amongst us. Please allow me to introduce you to my favorite guy in the whole world, Mike Kitless. How you doing, Kit?
Never had a bad day in my life. Just here to be your sultan of sports, your baron of balls, the king of close calls, and I'm not talking about my personal life.
Oh, girl, yes. No, Kit, I love it. And for those of you who do not know the story, Adriana and I met on Craigslist. Corbin and I met in an elevator, and Kitless and I met on Bumble. And we hit it off, but not in the way you would think. We decided to make the best of it. And I'm just, Kit, I love and adore you. I'm tickled to have you here. I think you're fantastic. And I'm so glad that you are covering sports because, honey, that is not my thing. And of course, my name is Samantha. I'm the CEO and co-founder of Whatever You Say Productions. This whole cock and anything was my idea. And I mean, it worked out pretty well because now we have, 6 podcasts, 4 web series. We have a news publication. So here's how it works. For those of you who may be joining us for the first time, let me explain how our show works. So At the Newsstand covers all the world news highlights, and we do it in different segments. What's Burning is where we talk about politics. It's Bro Time is where we discuss sports. And hashtag is where we talk about celebrity and pop culture, as well as TV and film. Now, for those of you who follow us on Instagram, you saw the story that I posted. I didn't tell you who it was. I just showed you their elbow. So everyone, please join me in welcoming Abby to the show. Hi, Abby.
Hello. How are you?
I am well. And you?
I am fantastic.
Abby, now you are here tonight as a friend of the podcast, as well as the chief strategy officer at Whatever You Say Productions. And you are going to be on what segment this evening?
I will be joining Kitless for It's Bro Time.
Thank God. Honey, better you than me. But
I'm so excited.
And we're thrilled to have you here. And I know that you're nervous, but you're going to be great. So before we get into It's Bro Time, here's what we're going to do. So why don't you tell the story of how you and I came to be friends? It involves a leotard. And that's all I'm going to say.
It does. Oh gosh, were we fourth grade? So
we were little.
You were third grade, perhaps, and we took a modern dance class, and I wore some of my mother's jazzercise outfits from the 80s to dance class. One of them was a striking fruit leotard with matching leggings.
Yes, it was fabulous.
Sam could not resist me.
No, I just thought it was the coolest thing I had ever seen. And I didn't bother to get to know your name. I just kept telling my mother, I want to be friends with the fruit girl. And so that's when we first met. And then we were friends a little bit in high school. We sort of ran in the same crowd, which was the drama crowd. Of course, we did musicals together and things of that nature. Adriana and Corbin, I can see your eyes twinkling in the night because no one loves a good musical more than those two. And then I think that we kind of got close in our mid-20s, give or take. And now I talk to you every single day. I never leave you alone.
Nope.
Talk about the position that you hold at Whatever You Say Productions.
So I am the chief strategy officer, and I do our digital and our PR, specifically focused on at the Newsstand, When I Knew, and anything else that comes up. I create our beautiful social media posts. Well, I hope everybody else thinks they're beautiful.
They
I
are
certainly
beautiful.
do.
No, you do a great job. My favorite thing that you said to me a couple weeks ago, I asked you advice about something and you said, I don't do people. I'm not HR. I'm PR.
Exactly.
Call Carrie. Well, anyways, Abby, we're thrilled to have you joining us. And I know that you are a huge, huge sports fan. So if anyone is going to measure up to Mr. Mike Kittless, girl, I know that it's going to be you. So thank you very much for being here, you guys. We're going to start out with It's Bro Time. Abby and Kittless are going to be talking about I have absolutely no idea what. And then Adriana and Corbin and I are going to get into hashtag, and we are going to talk about James Charles, but not in the way you think. We want to look at this from a business standpoint. How is it affecting him, the brands that he represents, and more importantly, YouTube, because he is breaking some records and not in a good way. So stay tuned and join us for It's Bro Time.
And like an inbound from the Toronto Raptors, Kawhi Leonard sinking it home with 2 seconds left. We're on to the next round here, too. Going to talk a little NBA playoffs. Now that we know who's going to be heading to the Western Conference Finals and the Eastern Conference Finals, we'll give you a little bit of hockey. Let you know who's in the West and the East there, as we're now down to 4 teams across the board for the NHL Stanley Cup Final and the NBA Championships. Abby, how we doing?
I'm good. How are you?
It's great. It was a great night for basketball. You and I were kind of going a little bit back and forth during the Trailblazers game. My guy Ennis decided to turn it up a little bit at the end of the game and beyond the end of the game too. What was your immediate takeaways from the game 7s of Sunday night?
Yeah, I was actually out in Oregon during the Trailblazers games. I was babysitting my niece, watching it with my brother-in-law and my sister, who are huge Trailblazers fans. So it was interesting watching it with them. And I am not the biggest basketball fan in the world. I will say that. I am a baseball, football, and now a NASCAR fan. And so
NASCAR, well.
Yeah, I can blame my boyfriend for that one. That's his sport, and so that's what we watch on Sundays. And then I caught pretty much the tail end of the other games, the East Game 7 game, and they were both very, very great games, and I'm excited to see the finals.
It certainly was an interesting weekend, and now heading in with these with the conference finals beginning, I think we should pick up from the East game and the mess that was the Philadelphia 76ers at the end. 3 shot clock violations that I think they're going to have to look at some coaching changes coming very, very soon. But Kawhi Leonard, there's just no other way to get around this game, and just all the pain that it caused, not only the residents of the city of brotherly love, but Even the players too. Joel Embiid seemed very emotional and tearful at the end of the game. That even his girlfriend was helping to wipe those tears before they head back to the locker room. It was a great inbound. It was a great move, and then Kawhi was able to float it up, and you couldn't have written it better in any movie or any film. Having that ball bounce around for a good 2 to 3 seconds and then finally fall in, just seeing the crowd erupt. And Kawhi, again, this will kind of speak to his character, is very collected, calm, somber, but he even had some reaction there. And I mean, it was fun, heartbreaking, but fun.
That shot was amazing. I was watching a couple of replays of it, and it's just like, what did it bounce 4 times before it went in? And you're just like, you could feel everybody just hold their breath, just like, is it going in? Is it going out? And Kawhi's just sitting on the floor, just waiting, just waiting for it to drop one way or the other. It was a truly incredible shot.
It's that shot when you're in the backyard playing that you pull off, and after it goes in, you look at your friend and you're like, oh, I knew that was going in the whole time. Like, I totally meant to do that.
Yep.
So now the Raptors head off to face Milwaukee and the Bucks. How are you feeling? Do you think they have a shot to stop Giannis? Are they going to be the team that steps up from the East to take on the Warriors, maybe the Blazers, probably the Warriors, maybe the Blazers, but let's be real, it's probably going to be Steph and the Warriors.
I'm hoping Blazers. I gotta say that, but so I was looking into this and looking at that matchup of Giannis and Kawhi, but it goes deeper than that, and I don't think that series can be laid onto those two at all. I mean, looking at Tim Frazier, he played 13 minutes of that whole series and picked up as many 3-pointers as Tatum, and George Hill, who was the Bucks' leading scorer with 14.2 points per game. So I think it's going to be a great series, and I think it's going to go deeper than just Giannis and Kawhi.
I will say Giannis, though, is the most fun guy to watch in the NBA right now and has a real chance of becoming the face of the NBA, especially the face of the East, unless the unthinkable happens, which we might as well get into that a little bit too. Another mess that's out in the city of fallen angels. We have Ty Lue reporting today that he didn't want to take the Los Angeles Lakers job because there's a chance that LeBron James gets traded. And to, of all teams, Philadelphia, who just got bounced from the playoffs. How about that? How are you feeling? What do you think? Does that happen?
I would be shocked if that happens. I can't see LeBron leaving the Lakers.
I'm sure Miami said the same thing.
True. Very true. Very true.
I can't see him leaving Cleveland twice.
I mean, I guess he'll go where it's best for him to go. But I don't know. I mean, the Sixers obviously did better than Lakers, so maybe that is the right move for him.
At the same time too, that could be a little bit of misinformation that Ty wanted to put something out there to make it seem, a little we'll call it a little unbelievable and unstable. That maybe that's not the right fit. Maybe he just didn't want to be the figurehead because let's be real, LeBron's going to be the coach of that team. It doesn't matter who's there. That's not going to be the person who's the head coach. It's LeBron. He runs the show. So. Yep. It just might be a little bit of, hey, that's going to be my excuse. We put that out there, let the internet sink in, and everybody on Twitter go nuts and just keep saying, this league.
I have to agree with you. I think no matter where LeBron goes, he is such an icon that he will take over that leadership and that coach role, whether it's with the Lakers or the Sixers or anywhere else in between.
Overall, let's see. We kind of hit on it. Your Blazers taking on the Golden State Warriors. How do you feel? You think they got a shot? Our guy was out there trolling. I'm a gigantic Enes Kanter fan, for anyone who doesn't know. Big fan. He's a great guy. One of the nicest dudes that I've ever had the pleasure of conversing with while at a wrestling event, of all things. And he went a little bit deep to the Denver Nuggets, who their fans were terrible. For those who don't know, Enes has had, unfortunately, some troubles over in Turkey, where he's from. He left, is now a political refugee, to where if he ever steps foot back in his homeland of Turkey, he'll be arrested on sight, probably murdered, not even taken to trial. But poor Ennis that had that happen. Nuggets fans during that series were rough, yelling things like "Go back to Turkey." Oh wait, you can't. It's brutal that they treated him like that. And my guy got to have a little bit of fun and got to put out, as they said, lock in your deposits now for the next round, tweeting out, "We want refunds right now." So I'm glad he got to have a little bit of fun, and I'm going to be pulling for him. But how are you feeling? What do you think that series is going to look like?
I think it's going to be a very interesting series, and looking at especially the Seth versus Steph Curry brothers lineup. But that post you sent me, his tweet, it just made me laugh, and I was like, "That's hilarious! How does a team do that? Are they so confident?" And I was thinking about it, and I was like, "Is that a normal thing? I know you can buy tickets for
Entirely.
playoff games, but to put it out there that you're so confident that you're going to win, that you put out a pre-sale for a game you're not even in yet," it just kind of blew my mind. And I was like, a little too cocky there and a little too soon. And I think the Warriors Blazers is going to be a very good round. And I didn't realize this is the first time the Blazers have been in the conference finals in 19 years.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And it is a more common practice nowadays, especially for, and this is by no means a knock or a shot at the Denver Nuggets, but for a fan base that has a problem, we'll call it mobilizing. This is a way to get it going early. You hit those folks that are going to be the hardcore basketball fans. They're going to be in no matter what. They're going to put their deposit in. They're going to get ready to roll. So you can focus your attention on filling the rest of the building. So it is a more common practice nowadays, because at the end of the day, the only thing that happens there afterwards is you might have that money go towards a game next year. They might end up doing, oh, okay, you can roll this over to season tickets, to a group outing, something like that. But it's a way to keep that fan base engaged for next season if you don't do this. So, yes, that is a more common practice, sadly. And when things like, I mean, game one is tonight now. If we're speaking in the future, we're looking at 9 p.m. Wednesday night. So that you have to mobilize quick and you have to get it going.
Yeah, very true. You got to fill the seats, right? Otherwise, there's nobody there to watch the game.
Yep. And yes, as you hit on too with Seth versus Steph, that's an easy one for Del Curry. You pull for Seth, and you know your son Steph's going to make it, and that way you can say to him, be like, "Hey, we were pulling for you, buddy. Don't worry. Like, hey, it's all right. You lost. It happens." So
Yeah.
that's my personal opinion on what you do, but by no means am I a parent, know what I'm doing, or have any idea if that would be great structure. It's just going to make Thanksgiving awkward at the Curry household next year.
I was listening to something that they were going to flip a coin. So I would imagine dad is going to wear one jersey, mom's going to wear the other, and they're going to flip a coin to see who gets to wear which one.
As long as they don't do that weird thing where you cut it in half and you have like the half
Oh, that would
Trailblazer,
be
half
funny.
Warrior one. Oh, I'm totally out on that. I think we can do better.
Yeah, there's two of them. They can each wear one. We get the point.
Oh, yeah. Done. Going off of the playoffs, now we have to move to the NHL, the quest for Lord Stanley's Cup. And we're looking at the Boston Bruins, who are currently leading in the series, taking on the underdogs, the surprise Carolina Hurricanes. And in the West, we got the St. Louis Blues and the San Jose Sharks. What do you think?
Well, I'm a New England girl. I got to go Bruins.
Oh, really?
I got to. I vote. Football season comes around and I'm against my boyfriend so much. I'm a Giants fan. He's a Pats fan. I got to give him his Bruins. Otherwise, it might be a really long year.
All right.
But they are up
so
2
we'll
games
roll
to
for the
none.
Bees.
So, I got to go Bruins.
All right, we'll roll with the Bees, and I'll agree with you there too, just because I don't think the underdog story can continue to last. So we'll see what happens, but I'm thinking like you. I'm gonna go Bruins, and I'm gonna go Sharks coming out for the Stanley Cup final coming up next week.
And I'm going Blues.
Really?
Yeah, I was looking at it. I think it's going to be the closer of the two playoffs.
Oh, yeah.
They both went 7 games. Each one had an overtime, and their scores were almost the same, the amount of points. So they scored per game, which I thought was really interesting. So I think that's going to be the more interesting playoff to watch. But I don't know. I picked Blues. I'm going double B's. What can I say?
And it's going to be interesting to see, because if Jordan Binnington continues to get hung out to dry, like it's not going to matter at the end of the day. You need your goaltending to step up here, but you also need your guys to perform. He stood on his head and was getting nothing from them. So it's going to be rough, but I think it's going to come down to, it'll be Martin Jones versus Binnington, and I'm still thinking the Sharks. Sharks are too good.
Well, I guess we'll see.
We will. And just bringing it on home as we head into this weekend, you got the PGA Championship up here in New York. They're playing. How am I doing over here? They're playing at Bethpage. And one of the fun things, especially with Tiger coming off of the Masters win, the secondary prices right now are the cheapest in recent history for a major. That your face value tickets of $350 for that full week are going for $150 online. Any reason you think? Anything that I'm missing that when I see
No,
because
that's crazy, especially given the fact that we were just talking about this. Actually, Sam and Adriana and I, concert tickets, you can't get them. Fans are getting these, not even fans are getting these codes and buying up all the tickets, and they're reselling them at like triple the amount of money. So it's kind of crazy. But I just wonder if, I don't know, are people just not that interested into sitting around for a whole week of golf? Is it not the right time of year in New York when we know how crazy our weather can be? Maybe I don't want to go stand outside for a whole week in the rain and watch some guys hit the balls around.
Like even today, we barely cracked the upper 40s and it rained, so it's supposed to be beautiful. I hope things pick up. I know I'll be watching probably Saturday, definitely Sunday, and pulling for my guy, the Sunday Reds. That's all we want. We want to see Tiger out in that red polo.
Yeah, I read this online and it blows my mind. I don't know why it blows my mind given how much athletes make, but the purse for this is $10.5 million. Did I read that correctly?
You sure did. But you have to think too, you're getting paid wearing whatever hat, polo shirt, pants, add on that pant, add on that shirt, add on that golf bag, you're getting paid with that too. So, yeah, you're walking away with some pretty pennies after this weekend.
Yeah.
And for those parents listening at home, have your kid take up golf now.
There we go.
Well, that's going to do it for us. Enjoy some sports. Enjoy your week. And we'll be back to you very, very soon with another Live and Living one.
So nice. We had to have her on twice. You guys, Abby's going to join us for hashtag. Corbin, how you feeling about it?
Can I just start with the opening quotes? Quote, "You're a phony. You're easily bought." End quote. Quote, "You sold me out, but you threw away our friendship." End quote.
Girl. Wait. Let's give the people some context.
Okay.
Adriana, I'm going to throw this to you because this is sort of really in your wheelhouse, in your world. Talk to us about like who the hell James Charles is, why he quote unquote matters, and what the hell is going on now.
And who he pissed off, because she is not to be trifled with.
Where the hell do I begin? James Charles he's an openly gay man. He's 19 years old, and I mention this because he started wearing makeup in high school, and when he did that, he posted a yearbook photo of himself that went viral, and he said that this is, what was the quote again? "This is why you bring a ring light to
something like that.
Something like that.
He went full glam, full hair.
He went full
makeup.
glam, yes.
He put it on Twitter.
Right.
And that's where it went viral.
And it went so viral that it reached Ellen. And then he went on the Ellen show. And then CoverGirl picked him up. And he was the first male face of, he was the cover boy. First male face of CoverGirl. And he's just been soaring ever since. But recently, a YouTuber by the name of Tati Westbrook, who is an OG, she's like 37 years old. She's been doing makeup for over 10 years on YouTube, has called him out for his bullshit. And he's just constantly in scandals every freaking day. It's never ending.
So here's the problem with James Charles. And Abby, do you know who James Charles is?
I do know who he is. Yes, I have seen his videos and makeup, and
Okay.
he
but
makes a much
you have-
prettier woman than me.
So James Charles, like Adriana said, he initially went viral because he went full glam for his school photos. He put it on Twitter and so on and so forth. However, we found out very shortly after he was signed to CoverGirl and on the Ellen Show that he lied about those school pictures. Apparently, and Adriana, you and I discussed this, so please correct me if I'm wrong, he made it like he just asked if he could bring his ring light or something like that to the school picture retake day. But in reality, he found the photographer for the school pictures. He harassed them through email, threatened them. The photographer called him out on it, not after the fact, but the photographer was like, I don't appreciate that you're making it look like I was uncooperative, because that's really not the case. The photographer was then like, look, I'm going to take screenshots and release this. James continued to be highly unprofessional and unpleasant. The photographer released those screenshots, but then somehow, and I don't know how, he shot to fame and stardom. So here's this 19-year-old kid from the middle of nowhere in upstate New York. He just bought like a 4-bedroom house in LA. I watched his home tour and it was extravagant and ridiculous. And, there was a moment there where I was kind of rooting for him. I'm like, you know what? As a fellow entrepreneur, get your life. Until this woman came out, Tati Westbrook, and just absolutely exposed him. So at this point, here's where we're at right now. He has been accused of sexually harassing a multitude of straight men, telling them that they're not straight, they're gay, trying to get them, in his good graces, in his company, offering to fly them out to LA, all these different things. And on top of that, he had been bad-mouthing a certain brand for months, and there's proof of this. And that brand is in direct competition with Tati Westbrook's brand. And now all of a sudden he's endorsing them. So, Corben, I know you love to quantify things, my dear. So why don't you talk a little bit about the numbers? Because he is breaking YouTube records right now with how many followers he's losing. Corben, give us the stats.
So originally, before this whole thing, when he was at the Met Gala, he had 19 million followers. After all this blew up, he lost 3 million, and that dropped to 16. And when I was just checking it earlier in the day, he had 15 million. And now, Adriana, he has 13 million, if I'm not mistaken? Like, it's plummeting and it's plummeting. And Sam, this is what you and I have talked about now that we've given the people some context. If you fuck up, excuse my French, if you fuck up and if you get caught, own up to it. Be honest. The moment you lie about it, the moment you try to go back and renege on what you said, that looks bad. And I don't know who his PR team, or if it's his family, his mom, his momager, whatever it is, but this does not bode well for him. And from what my understanding and from what I've seen from fellow YouTubers and other celebrities, they've really turned their back on him. And now this kid is like, he's on his own, and he's either going to sink or he's going to swim.
Yeah, and you know how we've been talking about the canceled community, how lately someone does something, they dig it up from like 2012, and then, you're canceled. James Charles has been canceled several times. Even after the photoshopped yearbook picture, he was canceled again after the Ebola tweets that came out.
To clarify what the Ebola tweets were, apparently he took a school trip, and this was a couple years before he became famous, and they were going to Africa. And he put on Twitter, like, on our way to Africa right now for a school trip. Hope I don't get Ebola. Not good. Now, all right, so he's losing followers. This is nuts. And Adriana, you told me that he's good friends with the CEO of YouTube, correct?
Yes, so he's really good friends with the CEO of YouTube. That's how he got to the Met Gala. She only chose a handful of YouTubers to go with her, and he was one of them. And people are saying that she's trying to protect him because when Tati Westbrook's video came out, it went viral. And
43
it was at the
minutes
top.
long.
Yeah, and it was at the top list. It was the most viewed video.
35 million.
It was immediately taken off the most viewed list. And that was kind of weird. And when James Charles came out with his apology video.
8-minute video.
Right, 8-minute video.
Which
it got
was
millions.
pathetic.
It was
by
terrible.
the way. It was
got
terrible.
Millions of views in minutes, right, Sam? We saw it the minute it came out, and there was like 30 million after 5 minutes. And for some reason, this video was not on the trending list. So people are saying that she hid it to protect him.
So, Abby, as our PR person and our moral compass, I mean, if you were in charge of James Charles, how would you, I don't want to say twist this, but how would you stage a recovery? Adriana and I talked about this a little bit earlier in the day, and we talked about, we think that he should do this, then this, then this. But without telling you what that is, what would you do?
Wow. I mean, so not knowing most of this ahead of time, having sort of lived under a rock for the last week, heartfelt apology, in my opinion, is the only thing that works. And clearly from what I'm hearing from you guys, having not seen that video, it was not. You cannot fake sincerity. You cannot fake a heartfelt apology and coming out about what you did was wrong. And I think sometimes, depending on what the case is, you just need to step away. You need to take a step back and you need to say, okay, I'm going to take a break from what I'm doing to get my life together, to get my shit together, because I've done something wrong and I need to rectify it. But clearly he's not getting that from the people around him. He's clearly being encouraged that what he did was okay.
To behave impulsively. There was nothing about it that was strategic. And Adriana and Corben, to the two of you who have seen this video, I would like to say, if anything, he seemed annoyed in his apology video. He seemed like he was tired and jet lagged and, I can't believe that I had to get out of bed for this.
Breathy.
And that was disappointing. And I think that it was a mixture between how he was sighing and he was biting his lip, like he was trying to look sexy while he was doing it. I just, look, as someone who I have made so many mistakes in my life, and as someone who did not learn how to properly take accountability for their actions and really apologize until I was probably, Abby, what would you say? 27 was when I figured it out. And I'm 31 now.
It takes time.
Yeah, it takes time. Like, I can tell you that was not sincere. So I agree with you, Abby. And I know that Adriana will back me up on this. We talked about this earlier and we said the first thing he should do is step away. Cancel the rest. He's on tour right now. Cancel the rest of your tour and immediately check yourself into some sort of a rehab facility. Now, I'm not saying that you have a drug problem because that's not what we're looking at here. But when I was 16, a lot of people don't know this, I was very, very fortunate because I had endured a lot of bullying. I was really falling behind academically as a result. And my parents pulled me out of school and they put me into this fantastic program that really focused around helping people who don't have a lot of self-confidence really learn to not only take accountability for their actions, because it was no one's fault but my own that my grades were slipping, but it was also an opportunity for me to really look at who I was as a person and go through this whole journey with my mother and father to think critically and problem solve and understand my emotions so that I could properly move forward and deal with them for the rest of my young adult and adult life. I think that he should do something like that. I then think that he should make some sort of a monetary donation to an organization that specifically helps people that have been victims of sexual abuse or assault, because he is being accused of sexual harassment right now by a handful of different young men. But I also think he should take it a step further. I think that he should make the sincere effort to try and forge a relationship with the powers to be at that organization so that he can have important conversations with people in that community to understand how it affects you for the rest of your life when you're harassed or assaulted. I think he should take the rest of the summer off, and I think he should come back in the early fall, fresh-faced and ready. I think that he should sit down and here's a corporate lesson I'll teach all of you. At work, you apologize once and once only. You mean it and you move on. I think he should sit down in front of a camera. I think that he should dress as he always has. I think he should very much come as himself. And I think he should say, I know that you've heard through the media about the efforts that I've been making, and I feel very fortunate to have had that experience. I am coming back because I am a creative person, and this is what I love. This is what I want to do with the rest of my life, is be creative and create art and give other people the opportunity to find themselves and maybe different parts of themselves through creativity. So I hope you'll follow me on this journey. Let's get started and then go right into it. Show me some new eyeshadow. Show me something. Do something with your hair and move on. Now, like Corbin said a minute ago, America is very forgiving, especially this younger generation, the teenagers. They don't really know any better. But I think that that's how he should go about it. And if he can show me that he can stick with it, and he can put in the work, come back better, stronger, changed, and humbled, and continue to show me that he's passionate about makeup and creativity, I'd be willing to give him another listen, because in all fairness, guys, I mean, when we were 19, I don't know about you, I was a mess when I was 19. Adriana, what were you like at 19?
I was partying, I was drinking, I didn't care about my homework. I didn't have any guidance, really.
So, Corbin, what were you like at 19? Which was only a few years ago, but what were you like at 19?
And this is no shade intended, because I'm not him. I was not a mess, but I had some real internal struggles going on with me, myself, and I for relationships that I had yet to work over. So that's what I was going through at 19.
Yeah. Abby, what were you like at 19?
I was having a good time.
Yeah. I mean, for me, when I was 19, I was, a freshman or a sophomore in college. I was dating a jerk. I didn't care about my grades. I didn't care about any of that stuff, because I was just so intoxicated with having that adult-like freedom of being in college that I didn't really understand. I mean, for me to go to the grocery store and buy cereal, that was like me being an adult and winning at life. I think that there's a huge difference between someone who's 19 and someone who's 29. I think there's a huge difference between someone who's 29 and someone who's 30. And so I'm not defending what he did. And we're not even really touching on the sexual harassment. I think that a lot of other people are going to get into that. So I don't want to beat a dead horse. I think that, if you've been listening to us for a while, you know where we stand on things like that. We take it very seriously. And I think that everything has a process that you need to go through with that. And right is right and wrong is wrong. And that's it. But yeah, I think that if he can really take the necessary steps and demonstrate that he has learned from his mistakes and that he wants very much to change, because listen, here's the honest truth. If he can do all of that or something closely resembling it, and then he can come back and record another YouTube video and not monetize it, just put it up, and then he can stick with it. A new video, at least 2 new videos every week, and keep that up for an entire quarter, for 3 months. Okay, I'll watch. I might not subscribe. I might not like or dislike. I'm probably not going to comment or share, but I'll watch. And I'm interested to see what he does with this. But Abby, to go off of, again, what you were saying, Adriana and I spoke about this earlier. We are absolutely mystified by his team and who he has around him. If I can tell you this, because I'm the problem child here. If I step 1 foot out of line, Abby is on the phone with me in minutes. And she's like, you need to change that caption. People aren't going to take that the right way. Adriana does the same thing. She goes, I edited out that one part because I know what you were trying to say, but it didn't come across that way. We're not putting it in. I need you to re-record. And I'm like, oh, okay.
It depends on who is his manager. Is it a momager, as Corbin said, where that's a very hard relationship to have, that kind of business boundary where your mom can be like, no, that was bad. But as a manager to be like, okay, this is wrong. These are the steps you need to take. And this is how we're going to rectify this situation, or I'm walking. And there's clearly nobody has put enough pressure on him and to lose something that is of importance to him.
Mm-hmm.
Because clearly he parent must not see all these followers leaving him as important enough to come up with a better solution. And I know, Sam, you said that program you went through had a lot to do with self-confidence. I don't think he has a self-confidence problem. I think he's got too much of it.
Yeah.
Otherwise, if you were like, okay, I was wrong, like, whatever. But he clearly sees nothing wrong with what he has done. Otherwise, I think it's going to be similar. He's going to have to lose something. He's going to have to lose a sponsor. He's going to have to lose multiple sponsors.
He's already lost all that.
Yeah, I wanted to come on and tell you guys that as of this afternoon, because you know how this drama also involves other YouTubers like Jeffree Star. Apparently, Jeffree Star is so pissed, and he wants nothing to do with James Charles, as it looks bad for his brand as well. He owns the merch company that is distributing James Charles's merch, and his website is currently down. Mm-hmm. Well, and my thing is, like, because he's so young, I feel bad in a sense where because you know how he was flirting with these straight guys in high school. I think what it is more of an addiction, because he's been doing this for years. So I think he might need some help, which is why I'm kind of giving him the benefit of the doubt here. I don't think he's a terrible person. I think he needs a little bit of help, and I worry that all this slander is going to affect him as he grows.
Absolutely. I would completely agree with you. I do think he needs help. And just to touch upon this a little bit, yes, when I went into that program, I had very, very low self-esteem, but you never would have known it. I mean, my outfits were popping. I thought I was Paris Hilton. Like, Abby, you knew me at that time. I was outgoing. I was bubbly. And so to sort of the untrained eye, I did seem very confident and very self-assured. But to a psychologist, they were like, "Oh, honey, you a mess. You a mess." But yeah, this is not, and to be clear, Adriana, I'm glad that you brought that up, because this is not a fame problem. This has been him sexually harassing people. And I don't want to get too deep into it because I know a lot of people are going to be talking about it, but this is an issue that's been following him around for years. This is not a fame thing. This is something that's been plaguing him since he was very, very young. Corben, I want to ask you, as a member of the gay community, which I know, and I say this slightly because I know that that's not necessarily something you want to highlight, not because you're ashamed or anything, but because I think that you very much feel you're so much more than your sexual orientation. And I would agree. I think that you are fabulous. But as a young gay man who is working as well to be known for his talent and come up in the world, how do you feel about all of this? Do you think, and I hope I'm not being rude by asking this, but do you feel as if, I'm sorry to do the disclaimer. I don't mean to generalize, but do you feel that this is setting your community back, especially for young gay men? How do you feel about all this?
I do feel as though it does those who are coming up. I do feel as though it does them a disservice because, you give someone an inch, they go a mile. And when one person fucks up, it fucks it up for the rest of us. And I hate to say that, being that he is young, but we have so many more positive, influential people in the community who have set an example. So I hope when people look at this, they just aren't focused on this one 19-year-old who's kind of like out here.
This one gay guy, right? Did you hear about this young gay kid?
Yeah. And then there's a whole plethora of LGBT role models who, well, first of all, one who are older than him, and then some who are younger than him that have that guidance, that have that, like Abby said, like a good support team. And Sam, you've told me this from day one. A good support team are not yes men. They are full of people who will challenge you, ask you why you did what you're saying, and let you know when you're on the wrong path. You may not agree with it, but at least you can count on their honesty.
Yeah.
To answer your question, I do feel as though he does give a bad light to those who are young professionals trying to come up. So.
Yeah. And I'm sorry for that, because I think it's really unfortunate. I do think this too shall pass. I think that your community in particular has very much proven, not over the last few years, but just over the last few hundred years, to be really a force to be reckoned with, and one that we should be listening to, because we're all the same. Why, why discriminate? But, I say to you sometimes, because technically, like, you're signed to my company as talent. So it's my responsibility, as well as really Abby's, to kind of manage your career within Whatever You Say Productions. And you'll bring some things up and say, could we try this? Or I was thinking about this. And I've said to you before, Corben, if this goes wrong, I don't know how I'm going to spin it for you. I don't know how I'm going to explain that away. And as much as it's an unpleasant conversation, because you're like, damn it, I was really excited about this. Ultimately, that's what a good manager does. That's what a good person in your life does as an advisor. They stop and say, hey, listen, I see the passion behind this, and I totally get where you're coming from, but may I offer you this point of view? Because perception is everything.
Yes.
Can we think about this? So I don't know. I was at a point where I hadn't subscribed to his YouTube channel, but I did follow him on Instagram. And for me, when I was watching that video that Tatiana put out, I was sort of watching it with one eyebrow raised. And I'm like, who's this lady? Because I'm not, Adriana, I'm not cool like you. I didn't know who she was. I have absolutely no idea how to put makeup on. So I should watch her, because maybe she could teach me a thing or two so I don't go out looking like a fool. But what really got me in that video was when she brought up the whole sexual harassment and the predatory behavior. And that's when I immediately went on and I unfollowed him. That was it for me. So I guess we wish him the very best.
Yeah.
We're prepared for the worst, and that's kind of the end of that. So that did take up all of hashtag. Sorry, everyone. I know that everyone's probably really sick of hearing about this, but I hope we offered a good perspective. You guys, the rebranding is complete. We are officially at the Newsstand. Adriana, I want to thank you very much for making our logo. And Adriana, I have to tell you, she's very patient. She's very sweet. She's like, okay, when I make this, we're going to FaceTime, because I'm going to show you how I do it. And then I'm going to show you all the little details that you wouldn't notice. So she does it. And I'm sitting there and she goes, okay, now what do you think is wrong with this? I'm like, it's pretty. She's like, no. I need you to look closer. And sure enough, she's like, do you see those lines? I'm like, bitch, where? So I had to put my glasses on and zoom in. And sure enough, she was right. There were like lines in the ombre. We had to smooth them out. But Adriana, thank you very much for being open about changing the name of this show. I know that you and I so love Dicks and Politics, and we get such a giggle out of it. But I appreciate your flexibility. This podcast, by the way, like, I can't say it enough, would not exist without Adriana. Yes, I might be the lead host. Yes, I might be the one that's most active on Instagram and all that shit. But I would be nothing if it weren't for Adriana, because she handles all the other stuff that makes me look like I know what I'm doing, when really I'm just an out of control dreamer. And she's like, up. Hold on. Before
Can you
get
put
excited.
that on a filter bear so I could just press his hand and I can hear it whenever I need some guidance?
Gladly. No, I mean, Adriana, and I say it all the time to the rest of the people. I'm like, can everyone please thank Adriana, because this was not me, this was her. I think people sometimes, when you're behind the scenes, people sort of forget. But you can't go out on stage without all the people backstage. It's just not going to work. If you don't have lighting and AV, like, you don't have a show. So good luck. Good luck. If you don't have costume, like, you don't have a show. Just like with us, if you don't have a website, if you don't have social media, if you don't have YouTube, if you don't have SEO, if you don't have marketing material, which Abby helps Adriana with, like, you have nothing. So Adriana, I want to thank you for doing this show with me, for following me along on my funny adventure, for bringing me back down to earth about 50,000 times a day so I don't go flying off into the abyss, because I would. No, I think you're fantastic. And literally, you guys, like, the one comment we got from the beginning of this show was, the production quality is a lot better than I thought it would be. I'm like, don't look at me. Don't look at me. My name is not Adriana. It is not me. And then, of course, Corben, you have been so completely open-minded about this from the beginning. And you were like, I'm subscribed, bitch. I'm waiting for episode 1, and you've been here since the beginning, and I'm so glad for you and your help, and you helped us out a lot in the beginning with social media. Holy crap. Corbin was like a machine on Instagram. He was going on the Dixon Politics. He's engaging with people, and I'm like, who's this follower? And he's like, oh, I know that you like beta fish, so I followed a beta fish group, and now they're following us. And it was fantastic.
Where's the lie? Where's the lie?
There is no lie. So thank you for thinking that this really had legs from the beginning. You brought something new to this show, and I really think that, just like I said to Aurora, the same thing can be said for you and for Paige as well. Like, you elevated the show, you elevated the conversations, and you took it out of just talking about current events and how they were giving us anxiety, and then sex and how the dating community is just fucked. And you brought something else to it, and I can't thank you enough for that.
Thank you.
And then, of course, Abby, who for forever, you and Corbin actually worked together to get my Instagram account off the ground. Abby catches mistakes before we make them. And you literally do everything. And now that you're helping us with all the digital marketing content, girl, oh my goodness. Because we all know I'm not allowed. Adriana has banned me. I am not allowed to make any marketing collateral anymore because it's uneven, it's grainy, and she won't have it. So, Abby, thank you for working behind the scenes. And I really want everyone to know that not only are you one of my best friends and one of my oldest friends, but you worked to, I hate how this is going to sound. You really worked to earn the opportunity to come on air, because you didn't start on air. You've been behind the scenes this whole time. And you listened, you supported us, you knew what was going on. You raised your hand and said, hey, I really like It's Bro Time. And I said, good, go on it. please help Kitless, please. So, Abby, thank you for all of your help, both on air and off air. I just think you're fabulous, and I so appreciate you.
Oh, it's my pleasure. It's fun. I enjoy it.
It is. And you know what? To end on that note, for people who have listened to us from the beginning, or if you're just tuning in now, we are having so much fun doing this. And we're very, very fortunate that for more than half the people at Whatever You Say Productions, this is their full-time job. We're at a point where we are having conversations with potential sponsors. We are working really hard to define all of our brands with the news and science and sports and gaming and esports and human interest pieces. Everything is really starting to fall into place. I would also like to say that there are some unsung heroes amongst us, and it's actually not people that work for Whatever You Say Productions. I want to take a moment to acknowledge all of the young men that we interviewed in the very beginning of this show for Endgame. We had dozens of guys in New York City write into us and say, hey, I'd love to be on your show. It was not paid. I told them, I'm like, we can't pay you, but one day when we are making some serious money, we're going to throw one hell of a party, and we'd be tickled if you would join us. For those of you, again, who have been with us from the beginning, we have a segment called Endgame, where we interview New York City's most eligible bachelors between the ages of 25 and 35. It's all anonymous. We talk to them about their dating experience in New York, what they're looking for versus what they're finding, and what societal shifts they think need to be made. I want to give a special shout out to all the guys that not only wrote in, but especially the guys who did Endgame interviews. We do have 2 Endgame interviews that have not yet aired. We are holding them close to our hearts. We're waiting for just the right moment to release them, because the 2 guys are really, really special, and we want to be sure that we're giving them sort of the opportunity that they do deserve to have their voices and their experiences heard. So, I'm sorry. I'm usually not this emotional. I promise. It's just because it's the beginning of the season and I had to say what I had to say. I also want to take a minute to acknowledge Mike Kitless. Love you. I like you. You're doing a fantastic job with It's Bro Time. Paige and Aurora, love both of you. Aurora, who slid into my DMs and was like, oh, I'd love to be interviewed on your show. I'm like, girl, I'm going to hire you. And she is a regular host on Dixon Politics. And then, of course, a special shout out to Dana Powell, who hosts When I Knew, Mike, who hosts Microscope, Ian, Kirk, Steve, and Steven, who host Game Over, and Sarah, who hosts Game Over, and Fifi Dubois, who hosts Fifi's Funhouse. It's going to be coming out later this summer. Every single show at Whatever You Say Productions started here at Dixon Politics, now at the Newsstand. So without further ado, let's wrap things up. My name is Samantha.
My name is Adriana.
My name's Corben.
My name's Abby.
And you just listened to episode 1 of At the Newsstand. We'll see you next Wednesday.
Thank you for listening to At the Newsstand, presented by Whatever You Say Productions in affiliation with Slam It with Sam and Oh My God Newspaper. To learn about these and more, join us at whateveryouSayProductions.com.